Ooh, I want to make sure this is present to everyone. All right. It's week 12. It's hard to believe that it's week 12 already. Um, this week it's going to be hopefully fairly light. I'll see if I am a little up in the air about bind on whether or not we're going to do it. I want to go over the basics pretty quick. As always, I'd like to email with some screenshots of what you guys have going on. I have Ruby up as an example of a scripting language. Actually, we were talking about before class here. Ruby is a cool language. This is Ruby on Rails. Rails is a web framework. It's pretty cool. I like Ruby. I like Python probably better, um, but it's still a good language if you're very new to programming. It's a very good programming language if you want to write scripts. Um, I really like it. I'll also put up Python here because I've probably talked about it before, but Python, awesome. Um, but that's probably because I write a lot of code in Python. Anyway, more on to Linux stuff, which Python is installed pretty much by default on any Linux distribution you have. Um, it's good. I'm going to close that and that. So very basically, I wanted to go over what services are. We talked about services earlier, but we do a lot of starting and stopping of services. And for those of you who are going on to do like a service with your final, it's important to kind of know how they work. They're just like any other process, and you can get a list of processes on your system by doing a PS, and that shows you all of the programs that you're running locally. Actually, should I change this? This is kind of hard to read up there. For some reason, I feel like this changed at some point. Let's do white on black. I think it feels not white on black. I wanted to do black on white. Black on white. A little bit easier to see on the projector here in the room. PS shows you what you have running currently. This isn't a list of all the processes on your system. To do that, you do a PS AUX, and that shows you everything on your system. In this case, I have a lot going on. And a lot of these are services or daemons. And you can tell because at the end of the name of the process, like, wow, none of these. Ksoft IRQD. So the D at the end stands for daemon. There should be more. These are all services, but usually they'll have a D at the end. Kaudit D. Wow. You can also tell because usually they'll have brackets around them. So those K-worker, why are there so much K-worker crap? I don't know. Good question, self. So that lists everything on your system, which isn't super useful always unless you're trying to find something, which grep comes in handy. So I want to look for squid. Well, it shows everything that squid is running, and it's running my, apparently I forgot to undo my proxy. I wrote my own redirector where we had set up squid with squid guard. Instead of squid guard, I wrote my own called Spanish Inquisition. I wrote that in Python. And I don't think I have this on video yet, but if I go to, I set up a site specifically to go to homestarrunner.com that will redirect to Monty Python's The Spanish Inquisition, where they're torturing someone by putting them in the comfy chair. I thought it was clever and funny. It's not. What's that? grep is used for searching. So say in that list of processes, I want to find just the ones that are squid. I can do a grep. And grep basically searches in a list of strings or text I want to find a specific word, I can look for, like in this case, I look for squid, but I could also look for, anything with Python, and it shows me everything that's running with Python, which apparently Printer Applet is running Python, and Firewall D apparently is Python as well. Oh, now we can see better. Light went off. Nobody's moving. So grep just allows us to limit down by searching for specific text. And obviously piping, you can pipe, whenever you have an output of a program, like, say, example, PS, you can actually pipe that to something else or redirect it to something else. So piping allows me to grep for CMD, and it finds that one bit of text, or I could just as easily, usually, actually this comes in handy. So say I want to kill every Python, instance of Python. So in the case where I have the Spanish Inquisition, right, I'll just look for Spanish. So this is every single time that the Spanish Inquisition is running, and there's a lot of them. And I don't want to have to go and find every single PID to kill them, which I'm also going to go over for reals this time. This is a process ID or PID, and there's 5597, 5742. I don't want to have to kill all of these. Like, say all of them were malfunctioning. I don't want to have to kill all of them. So maybe if I do this, and now I also pipe that to, like, sed. What will sed do for me? Sed allows you to do regular expressions, which I'm not going to cover them a lot. Actually, I wanted awk, not sed. And awk will allow you to split up text. It's a text processor. I should be able to do, let's see if my Linux skills are up to snuff. That's the second field, right? Awk will see that this is a delimited text by, like, tabs, and automatically delimit it for me. So if I do print 2, it should give me a list of all the PIDs. Wow, awesome. So that way, now I have all the PIDs laid out for me. Now I can also take that to xargs. I really don't remember the arguments to xargs, so I'm going to have to Control-C that. I have to look up the help for xargs. Xargs allows you to run a command with arguments, initial args, and more arguments read from input. So that allows me to take this list of processes, or processes, or PIDs, and pass them to, like, kill, so I can kill all the instances of the Spanish Inquisition, because I am the Counter-Reformation, and I'm going to get rid of the Spanish Inquisition. Can I do a dry run? Let's do a T. Pipe this to xargs kill xargs -t and -p for interactive, because I don't want to run it. No. Let's do maybe a -L for use at most one non-blank input per line command. Yes, that's what I want to do. So now I'm going to get rid of the P for interactive. I want to do a kill -9 because I want it dead. Sweet. So this is what it did. It said kill -9 for process ID 5742, 44, 45, and I had one command that I did to do that. So I actually do this on a fairly regular basis. I have a monitoring system, and occasionally it'll get sideways, and it runs a lot of processes because it's monitoring a lot of things, and those processes hang, and it seems like all of them hang. And instead of trying to find which ones I need to kill, I just kill them all because I can do that just by this one thing. Now, if I go back here and do a ps-aox and grep for Spanish, they're all back. And the reason is, when Squid runs, if the redirector fails, it just starts up a new one. So effectively, I just refresh Squid's supply of redirectors. But that's about it. It's not too much more complicated than that. I know that's a lot for one command. I mean, that's a big command. But it shows how you can chain the commands together, because each one of these is a program in its own right. So PS is a program, grep is a program, awk is a program, xargs is a program, and kill is a program. And I'm stringing all those programs together to kill another program that I wrote. Hopefully that's not super confusing. Probably is. I'm sorry. Kill is actually kind of a cool command. We'll do a kill, since I did want to go over. We'll do man kill. Funny. Man kill. The command kill sends a specified signal to the specified process or process group. Now, the interesting thing about kill is, yes, it terminates processes, but it does actually more than that. Because within Linux, there is a concept that processes can accept signals. Generally, processes only accept a few signals, and one of them is a kill or die signal, like basically they quit without finishing what it was doing. So most modern shells have built-in kill function. There are actually several signals you can send to send to programs to make them do different things. For example, if I'm using DD, I can actually, and I don't even remember it because I don't DD all that much. We'll Google this. On DD is a command line program used to copy data. It was originally used as a conversion utility between ASCII and IBM's competing, not really language, but format. But one of the ways to get status is to do a kill, and you're not killing it, but what you're doing is you're sending basically a signal to the process to send its status. And I don't know, DD kill status. Printing DD status. You kill signal user 1, and that actually tells the process to send a status back out to the console, because when DD runs, nothing. It looks like it's doing nothing. It just sits there and hangs for a while. So in order to get a status out of it, you have to send a signal to that process using kill, which sounds strange and is pretty rare that you'll ever need to do that. For the most part, all you need to know how to use kill is you need a process ID, which you can get by PS, and then you can do a kill. And kill doesn't, it asks nicely. It asks the program to die nicely. Let's look for Firefox. ps-aux, grep for Firefox. I'm going to say my Firefox here is running at process 3354. So I'm going to do a kill 3354. And it dies. But say Firefox was hung and it was not responding and it was just being obstinate, I could do a kill-9, which it doesn't ask nicely. It just removes the carpet from underneath the feet of the process. And it's the most aggressive kill. There's even songs written about it. Legendary. Way more powerful than in Windows, where you get the annoying pop-up that's like, this window is not responding. Do you want to end it or wait? And you hit end and it's still running. Kill-9, there's no waiting. It just dies. Um, so going back a little bit to processes and services, I'm going to go and start up a utility called top, which top also shows you all of your processes, but it does so in a pretty cool way. And I'm actually going to change my refresh period by going, I hit D on the keyboard, I'm going to change it to 0.5, and I'm going to hit enter. And now every 0.5 seconds it refreshes this screen. So this is similar to like a process monitor on Windows, but it shows that Chrome is chewing up my CPU, actually a lot of my CPU. Strangely enough, today I was actually running a top on a system, and I was seeing that Java was taking 384% of my CPU, which I thought was pretty comical. I don't know how they do their CPU percentages, but I think it's off per core, and I had a quad core system, so it was using all 4 of them. Very efficient, Java. Using a reindex on a Confluence, I actually think is doing that. But you can see how processes are responding in real time. You can see the PID over here, the user who's running it, and some other information like virtual memory, reserve memory, shared memory, the percent CPU, and the percent memory. So Chrome, the top 2 processes here are really just hogging CPU, like 40% Pulse Audio, which is the audio system, so that's how I'm recording this, is taking another like 15% on occasion. So it's a good way to find out like what processes are doing what. And getting a little back to services, because we've talked about them a lot over the course of everything. Squid is a service. MySQL, MariaDB, that's a service. And these services run constantly. And one thing I didn't talk about previously was how to run them on boot. So when your system starts up, if you want to run, like, say, Apache, I would do a systemctl enable HTTPD. And that means it's going to run when my system boots up, which is handy if you're running into a situation where you're doing something with Apache and you reboot your system and then it's not working. Well, it's because you didn't start Apache. You didn't run systemctl start Apache or start HTTPD. Now, when I do this enable, it starts when my system starts. And there's actually a pretty cool GUI tool, and I don't know if I shared this. System config services. And you may have to install this, but it's just yum install system-config-services. And this shows you all the services that are running on your machine, or are not necessarily running, but are on your machine. So, for example, I have ABRT-CCPP. It's managed by systemd. It may be started and then run in background or activated by on demand. And it's kind of a run once. So it's run and finished. Let's look at one that's not enabled by default. MySQL is running. Yeah. Let's look at NMB. This is inactive, meaning it's not running. So let me enable it. So I'm enabling an NMB service. Means it's enabled, but it's still not running. So I can hit start here. Well, it's hung, apparently. I don't know what just happened. It's not happy. This might be one of those cases where kill-9 might come in handy. Let's actually try that. Another thing you can do for processes, and I've done this a few times and haven't really told you guys what I'm doing, but if I hit Control-Z on my terminal while I have a program running, it stops the program, but it's still running, but it's just stopped in a stop state. And in order to keep it running, I can do a BG and enter, and what that does is it sends that program to the background. So that program is still running now, but I can still use the terminal. I really wish Windows had this functionality because it's kind of handy to start a program in the background so I don't have to have it take up a terminal when I'm running it. So now we can do a ps aux and I'll grep for system-config. And there it is. This one right here. It's actually a Python script too. And it's running at 6722. But it's also 6724. So let's do a kill-9. I'm suspecting this one because it's as soon as I hit that button, it started freezing. So let me do 6724. Now did this come back? Maybe. Nope. Sort of, but not really. Now we're going to have to get aggressive on 6722, and it's dead. It's gone. More frozen. And you can see now that I hit enter, it says it killed it. Let's do a system config services again. Now instead of doing a Control-Z BG, what I can do is hit the ampersand at the end of the line, and that automatically starts it in the background. You can see it started it right there, and it's processed 6768, which is handy. Now if it freezes, I don't have to do a PS. Let's see if it likes NMB now. Nope, still doesn't like it. Oh, it did enable it, so let's start it now. Well, it liked that. So that's just a little bit more basic information. And this will come in really handy when you guys get to doing the final, when you're doing services and doing stuff like that. I mean, I don't know exactly what you're doing, but I'll probably do a project. And if you guys follow along with me, that's great. I'll accept if you turn in that. But if you want to do your stuff on your own, that's great too, and I encourage that. But we'll be doing a lot of stuff with services and a lot of stuff with log files, which leads me to log files. Log files are super, super important to know how to use. Most of the time, they're in var log. I'm just going to cd there, var log. And if I do a ll or a ls-l, it shows me all of the logs I have on my system, which there are quite a few. This is the system I use every day, so there's going to be a few. And depending on what I'm looking at, what sort of service I'm installing, I may want to look. So say I want to install bind, which I'll do it. I don't know if I'm going to configure it a lot, but I'll do it. So I'll do a yum-y install bind. Actually, I think that's not right. I think it's named. Well, I do a lot of things from memory, and it's not usually right. But in this case, it was right. Hooray, memory! While that's installing, I'm going to get some food here since Christian bought pizza.
Yeah, you guys want to come into the class and listen out. You see what he's doing on there? No. Oh, it's on that one.
Elton John,
I love it.
Nice. Clever. I would never pick this combination on a pizza, but it's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so bind is installed. Now I'm just going to do a dry run and do a systemctl start. I think it's named. Don't ask me why it's bind and the service is called named. I mean, I get it, it's DNS, so it makes sense that it's a name daemon, but why not make the package also named? Don't know. But if I do an LL here again, I should see, and I don't, a named log. Wow. This is why doing things from memory is awesome. Systemctl status bind. You know, I can't spell. That's a problem. A bind. I know. It's named. I even said that first. So it is running somehow. Even though it gives me all these errors. Oh, apparently it just uses the native journal. So 99% of the time prior to I don't know, Fedora 16, 17, they used Varlog messages to get everything. Now with the newer Fedoras and in Red Hat 7 or CentOS 7, what you'll be working with is what they call journalctl, and we'll just run that. Maybe no. We'll do a double dash help because I don't ever remember the options to journalctl. So let's look at everything. So journalctl-a. So this gives us a nice view into the system log, and we can scroll down using the arrow keys on the keyboard. And I'm going to scroll down, page down, maybe. Don't know what just happened there. So I hit Control C because it was not being happy with me. Apparently I did something wrong. But I can use page down, page up to scroll through it very quickly. You can see there's a lot in here, and this is just this goes back to February 6th, which isn't very helpful for me. I'm going to go back to journalctl-help, and if I recall, there's a reverse, so I want to see the latest first, right? So now all of my latest events are at the top, April 9th, right there. Unable to fetch DNS key. So in this case with bind, right, journalctl shows me what is going on with the system. So in this case, like, it can't find a DNS key, which is a problem for DNS. Bind is a DNS server. Interestingly enough, if I don't get any farther with bind actually runs most of the internet. Even if you go to IANA, I believe almost all of theirs are running bind. Not 100% on that, but I know that it's a lot. And bind actually stands for Berkeley Internet Naming Daemon, I believe. Let's see. Let's fact check me. Internet Name Daemon. Dang it! So close. Hopefully, you guys don't knock me off too far for conflating name with naming. Here it even says why it's called named. It's short for name daemon. Anyway, it's actually everywhere, like literally everywhere. I really wish they had like a list, because it's like half of the friggin' internet runs bind. But anyway, so it's everywhere on the internet, and you can run a DNS server yourself. And just for those of you who may not know, a DNS server, what it does is when I say ping google.com, it takes google.com and translates that name into this IP address, because computers by default don't know how to get to each other just by using a domain name. And also, domain names aren't really useful if you have multiple servers serving up the same domain name. The system will get confused, and in the case of Google, right, there are many, many IPs that resolve to Google. Oh, come on. Really? You're using my own local server already. Serious. All right. Dig google.com. What? Apparently it's only wanting to give me one IP. Normally when you look up google.com, it'll give you like 13 IP addresses. I don't know why it's not doing that. Whatever. So anyway, I'm just trying to illustrate kind of the tips and tricks of the trade, of how to navigate through processes, through services, that sort of stuff. Actually, I think I will do bind. I think I'm going to configure it. I'm here. I might as well, might as well do it. Etc. named.conf. So this is the main configuration file. This is a fairly unique package compared to what we've been doing, in that there's actually quite a few config files that you need to edit in order to make bind work correctly. This is just one of them. And this is the etc. named.conf file. And there's actually several. There's even a directory in etc. called named, and that's where you'll put your definitions for your domain. So to give kind of an idea of what we're doing, if I do a host name, I'll have something lame like localhost.localdomain. Let's say I want to change my system name to like, I don't know. Normally, my home domain name is Lactea. That's for like the Milky Way galaxy, but Milky Way kind of sounds stupid for a name of a domain, but Lactea sounds a lot cooler. It's Spanish or Latin. So I'm going to call this, I think my Xbox is Jupiter. My phone is, maybe my phone's Jupiter. I'll make this one, what's a cool planet? Mercury. Now if I do a host name, Mercury.Lactea. Now let's say there's another machine on my network. I do an NS lookup, Mercury. Well, it doesn't do anything because it doesn't know where to find that address. On my local network, if I wanted other systems to be able to access my system by the name Mercury, I can do that by using my DNS server. Now, I'll set up what's called a domain name or a zone for Lactea, and I'll set up a host, an A record for Mercury. But first, I need to go to my name.conf file, and we're going to set up a few things. I'm actually going to go out to Dan's courses, because a couple of years ago I did this in class with Dan, and he posted my configs, so it'd be easier to go back and do it later on. Bind right here. Apparently this step 2 was not necessary. Who knew? Step 2 and 3. This uses the older naming convention using service, but systemctl restart named is what we use. Let's look down here for our configuration. Well, let's grab this one. This is a forward zone that looks up a name to an IP address. There's also what's known as a reverse lookup and a reverse zone. I'm not really going to go into that. We're going to call this Lactea. Actually, what did he call it here? Example.com.zone. We'll just call it Lactea.zone. The blank file. I'm going to paste that in there because I'm a cheater. And so I'm going to go. It's important that this has a dot at the end. So if you see all of these example.com and there's a dot at the end, that's actually really important. This will be start of authority will be DNS1.lactea. Get rid of .com because my top level domain is Lactea. So host master.lactea. All that's fine. In is DNS1.lactea. We want an MX record for mail. We'll do that one as mail.lactea. And we'll use an A address of whatever. What's my IP? I don't even remember. 216.0.193. So I'm going to copy this and I'll paste it in right here. Bam. Same thing for this. DNS1 is going to be my IP address because reasons. Well, because that's what I want it to be. If I had multiple systems, like say I had an actual server that was also a DNS server, I could put its IP address in, and it could be a DNS1, I could put a DNS2. In this case, I'm going to do a Mercury. And we'll paste that in there too. FTP, I don't want FTP. We're just going to have mail is going to be a CNAME to Mercury. And www is going to be a CNAME to Mercury. So CNAMEs are domain names that go to, like, just basically do a redirect. So when I type in Mercury or type in mail.lactea, it'll actually go to mercury.lactea, but in my browser or in my application, it'll still point to mail. Just allows you to have multiple names for the same host. If you ever have seen like a domain like google.com, you can go to google.com and it redirects you to www. Or sometimes domains will have the same page on both www and the host name, and that's just using CNAMEs to redirect that traffic. So I'm going to save this because that all looks good. And now I'm going to create a lactea.rr.zone for this is a reverse lookup zone. And here I'm going to go and grab all this, paste it in there. Who doesn't like copy paste? Am I right? Now this is a little bit different. And because we're actually going to look at the IP address we have, in this case mine is 172.16.0.193. Now within DNS, everything is backwards in the IP order. So in this case, I'm going to be 0.16.172.in-addr.arpa. ARPA hails back to the origin of the internet, the DARPA project, which is how the ARPANET came to be, or the internet came to be. So DNS1.lactea. and hostmaster.lactea, right? Same thing here. Mercury.lactea. And in here, we're going to do a reverse lookup because my IP address is 193, or the end of my IP address is 193. At the very beginning of this line, I do 193. I'll actually do that for all three of these names. I'm going to give it because I want all three of them to reverse lookup to this. So the address 172 right here, .16.0.193 will result of Mercury, DNS1, and mail.lactea. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to my, not my name conf, my resolve. This is my local resolver configuration. I'm going to change my domain to Lactea and my search to Lactea. I'm going to get rid of this where my only name server is 172, or not 172.16, 127.0.0.1. Apparently I'm dyslexic because I totally read that earlier as 127.0.0.1. So you do have to go and do this, steps 1, 2, and 3 in Dan's configuration. Anyway, I have that now set correctly. I'm going to go back to my name configuration and look for zone. And I think somewhere in here, yeah. All right, let's grab this configuration. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put that in the very end of this file. Get rid of some of these excess spaces. And I'm going to change this to my configuration that I just made. So in this case, right, I didn't have example.com, I had Lactea. Now there's no extra dot on this one. And it was lactea.zone. And same thing here, lactea.rrzone. It was 172.16.0. Right? So I saved and quit that. Go to systemctl, restart named. Oh, and it did not like me. journalctl-xn. What does it not like? Because it does not like my file not found. Hold on a second. I'm going to put these includes down at the bottom. Just in case that screwed it up. Nope, it still didn't like me. What does it say? It says zone 0.16.72 in address ARPR not loaded due to errors. Default file not found. Okay. What did I do wrong? Now, this log told me that it's in this reverse zone, right? Because it's that 0.16.172.in-address ARPA. So I'm going to open up that file and see what's wrong with it. Now I've got all that good. DNS1.lactea hostmaster. Ah, my problem was a misspelling. I think isn't it origin? Yeah, $origin. So in there I only had region, which is not a word. Not that I know of anyway. I could be wrong. Probably am. So now let's do restart. Now it still doesn't like us, but we should have new errors. We do not. Awesome. Let's look at this again. Let's compare it to our reference. Origin, blah, 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 and address ARPA, which is what we have, TTL 86400. I don't see a problem here. Interesting. Let me check my bind config. So that's etc name.conf. Let me make sure I didn't screw something up there. Octata.rr.zone. I'll hear about, how about this? Just to see if this works, I'm going to comment this whole thing out. These lines. Commented those out. Now let's see if I can restart names. Still doesn't like me. Why? All right, we at least have new errors. Neat. Lytea.zone file not found. Maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't here. But instead, the directory is var named. Maybe that's my problem. Here, let's try this. So I put those in etc named, right? I have those two files in there, but I'm going to copy those actually to var named. So I'm going to do etc named star to var named. Now let's see if I can do a systemctl restart named. Hey, it likes it. So now if I do an ns lookup, Mercury, look at that. It works. Wow. And I'm still under an hour. Awesome. All right. I think that's it for tonight. I got DNS working. I'll also show you a reverse lookup. I'll do an NS lookup of 172.16.0.193. And look, it shows all of my names. Awesome. Cool. Well, that's it. Sorry I didn't go into a more depth on that. I hope you guys can get something out of this. Next week I'll probably start on my quote final project because I think it'll take me a couple weeks to do. So I hope to see you guys then, and send me screenshots of this, of all the commands that we ran today. And if you guys want to try bind, go for that. I'd like to see screenshots. So, till next week. Oh, that'd be a long drive for pizza. Sorry, I didn't see that until now. I'll send you some. I'll put it in the mail. I got two guys in here. Sorry for not even paying attention to this hangout, guys. Anyway, I hope you got something. I'll at least stop the broadcast. I'll keep this going if you guys have any questions.